I'm back with another video on the Cordless Tesla. This time I'm on version 3. In the previous video, I took a road trip to Salem, Massachusetts. I built a jet-powered hovercraft and then came back to the Midwest. I had a ton of problems. The car was overheating the entire time. I'm surprised that Kohler diesel is still running at all. It was running a temperature of 250 degrees, oil temperature of 400 degrees for the entire 2,900 mile trip. So I'm back. I'm gonna fix all those problems I had in the previous video, and then I'm gonna do it again. Hopefully this time I'm gonna go faster, farther, and stronger. I'm gonna try to go over 3,000 miles. But first, is this the video I'm supposed to go to Danny Duncan?
100, dude? There's no way in heck I'm going 100.
Yeah, so I'm going to Danny Duncan. But first I have to build him a Jet Go-Kart. Forgot all about that. Anyway, let me get to work. First thing I'm gonna set out to do is fix the biggest issue I had in that previous road trip, and that is engine cooling. I'm gonna redesign the entire cooling system from the ground up, relocate the radiator to the front of the car, repipe the Tesla battery cooling system. Looks pretty good. Nice and clean. I think it looks better than the original plumbing that looked sort of like a rat's nest. Wow, that fit perfect. Look at that. It's almost like the Tesla was meant to be a hybrid. I just finished relocating the radiator to the front, and I still have room for the fuel tank. I'm all done mounting the fuel tank. Everything fit like this car was made to burn diesel fuel. Now that I got the cooling system out of the way, it's time to attack the next big problem, which was noise. This thing is way too noisy, and that previous road trip was pure misery. So I'm gonna cut the existing exhaust off and rework it and try to quiet this thing down. Look at that. This is what I came up with. This is the exhaust right here. Gives me that 2-cycle feel, the way it comes out and just curves up into here. And these are the 3 exhaust chambers. It should sound pretty good. However it sounds right now is the way it's gonna stay, because I am not going back designing and building another exhaust. Now that I have the exhaust installed, wrapped up, and ready to go, there's just one more thing on my list. I'm gonna install a D&D Digital Dash. This is gonna give me all of my engine stats in real time. And if you haven't seen these before, they're super cool because they're fully programmable and customizable. And these normally mount in the instrument cluster, but I'm just gonna leave it right here in the console. I just need to see it for this road trip. It's gonna make the entire trip so much easier, having all that information at a glance. Now I need to install all of my sensors. Coolant temperature sensor, boost pressure, oil pressure, intake air temperature. I have all those sensors done. Now I need to make a way to pick up the RPM from the diesel. This is a little bit tricky because the diesel is a mechanical engine. For the trigger wheel, I'm just gonna use the existing crank pulley and machine it. Turn it into a trigger wheel. Then I'm gonna print out a bracket to hold my RPM sensor in place. Mount all of that to the engine, and now I have all my telemetry up front. I also decided to grab a fuel level sensor and throw it in the tank. That way I'll be able to see how much fuel I have during this trip. All I need to do now is customize the dash the way I want it, set up all the gauges, and the last thing I have to do is make a control panel, and I'm completely done. I think it looks pretty good. And there's my fuel gauge, the most important thing of everything. The Tesla is finally done. I just have one more thing left to do before hitting the road. I have to slap together a Jet Go-Kart for Danny Duncan. That was the purpose of this road trip in the first place. There's a couple things that I'm gonna need to make this work. One is an extra jet engine. I'm thinking something like this. All right, I got the whole go-kart all taken apart. Next thing I gotta do is try to fit it in the Tesla. All right, it's all packed up, ready to go. I think it's gonna fit. Wow, I don't know if it is gonna fit. Literally like, what, half an inch? Look at that. Just made it. Everything's all loaded up, pretty much ready to go. I'm at 99% charge. The engine's all done. Everything's done. Looks nice and clean. Hope it makes it. The trip is reset. Ready to go. We're at 98% charge. but I can't start this up until I'm at like 90%. So we're gonna go straight to Gatlinburg. 582 miles, 8 hours and 54 minutes. Let's see if we make it. I just turned on the generator, and I'm definitely glad that I have all this telemetry because it's making things a lot easier. I'm having an issue right now where if I run more than 50% power, the engine is bogging down. It even died out once, so I'm gonna pull into this abandoned gas station and check it out. Yeah, that RPM is too low. There is some aluminum in there, so the filter's definitely doing its job. Well, better here than inside the pump, I guess. Out with the old, in with the new. Well, there we go. We're only like 100 miles into our trip and already having issues. All right, I just arrived at Fair Oaks Farms. Driving by the supercharger station. I was so hungry because I worked on that go-kart till like, I don't know, 1:30 in the morning. This is Indianapolis. This is our first hotel stay of the trip. A lot faster than the previous road trip, and we're here. We got some battery to spare. Watt hours per mile. Right now I'm at 77, but I was going fast. Everything looks pretty good, except for all that noise. I love Amazon, but looks like that baffle inside there came loose. And yeah, it's making noise, which kind of blows, but gotta leave it out here. Other than that, it's not too loud. It's pretty quiet. It's a lot quieter than it seems on camera. I have a feeling that exhaust pipe's gonna break off before the end of the trip, and it's not gonna be so quiet. We're about 20 feet away, and it's really quiet. You can barely hear it. I hear the traffic more than the car. We can see the Tesla from our window. For those of you that said that I was bothering all the hotel patrons, and as you can see, you can't hear anything. But this time it is a lot quieter. Good night. This is the next morning, and it looks like the car is still there. Everything looks good. Oh, what a difference compared to the last trip. And it's fully charged. Upon further inspection, it looks like my welds have broken. And now it's fully charged. We're on our way to the tail of the dragon, and then to Georgia, and then to Danny Duncan. It says we're gonna reach our destination with minus 82% battery. Gas is so expensive. $5.14 a gallon? I think it's time to use Upside. Oh, perfect. Speedway's on here. That's where I'm at right now. Hey, that's actually not bad. 61 cents cash back for each gallon. Upside is a free app that gets you cash back on daily essentials like gas, groceries, and so much more. There's over 100,000 gas stations, grocery stores, and restaurants on the Upside app. And yes, it's real cash back. No frozen turkeys, no confusing rewards, just actual money back in your bank account. It's actually pretty crazy. Top Upside earners are making as much as $300 a month. Smells like money. To find out how much you could earn, click the link in the description, download Upside, and use code WARPED to get an extra 25 cents back for every gallon on your first tank of gas. Or scan the QR code here to claim this offer. All right, I'm gonna top it off at about $100 even. That's 24 gallons. I should be getting about $14.40 back on my card. First time I used Upside, I honestly didn't think it was real, but to my surprise, nice. Money in the bank. Louisville, Kentucky. Our estimated state of charge upon arrival is minus 25%, so it got better. So we're almost there. It says we're gonna get to our negative 5% battery. We have 100 miles to go, and we're at 25% battery now. That's where we're at, and we're in Tennessee. Almost there, and I got 18% battery. It just showed up right now. We're okay if the engine stays running, and everything looks pretty good right now, but now we're definitely too far from any charging stations. So if anything happens with the engine, we're completely stranded, and yeah, you're in trouble. If you're in a Tesla and you run out of power, pretty much where we are right now, where we're too far from charging stations, and you're done. And it's so close, 2%. We're at 2%, but we're almost there. Now that we got off the freeway, we're charging back up. My first real problem, there's an oil leak somewhere. There's oil all over the place now and the engine just shut down. So I'm gonna clean all this up and just get back on the road. We're gonna go to Costco and buy some socks real quick. Then we're gonna head up the tail of the Dragon. This time when we run in Costco, I'm gonna leave it charging. That's a mistake I made yesterday. Kind of sounds like a rod knock, but it's actually the exhaust. Perfect. At this point, I figured out that the rear main seal has been blown out of the back of the engine. I'm not sure how this happened, but as soon as I get done cleaning up this 3 quarts of diesel oil sprayed all over the back of the Tesla, I'm gonna try to make it to the opposite side of the tail of the Dragon, get to a hotel, and figure out how I'm gonna fix this or what I'm gonna do next. We're at the beginning of the tail of the Dragon. And I thought the engine was gonna hang on, but it's not. It's leaking way too much oil, and I have no service up here. I'm trying to overnight the parts to my hotel so I can fix it in the parking lot, but I have no service here. So, and the cutoff time is 2 p.m. and it's 2 p.m. All this time I was trying to conserve energy, driving through the tail of the Dragon. I used, oh, it went down 970. It was at 1,010. Now we passed the end of the tail of the Dragon and we're going downhill. So we should be able to capture some of our energy back. We got to Gainesville last night, just barely made it, watching my speed the whole time to conserve energy. I didn't set this up, but funny enough, EFI, the company that makes the engine control units that I use, and they make Mega Squirt, they're actually here in Gainesville. I called them up and they agreed to let me use their shop, rip the car apart, see what's wrong, see if maybe I could put a Band-Aid on it for now. Whatever it takes to get to Danny Duncan. Once I'm there, I could just fix the car at Danny Duncan's house. But yeah, gotta get moving. Let's see what happened. I'm really curious to see what is leaking all that oil on the diesel. We finally arrived at EFI. So I'm gonna park on this incline so the car is leaning forward. Since the oil is leaking out of the back of the engine, that should work. What a mess. Everything is covered with oil. Well, I could definitely see the oil leaking right there. Right there, coming from behind that flywheel. Let's see what's leaking there. Upon further inspection, and after calling my guy at Kohler, as I was talking to him on the phone, not sure if you see anything weird going on over here, but I looked at the seal really close and it's kind of protruding, which I thought was a little strange. And then I looked on the inside here and check this out. Look at those marks. What that means is that seal used to be seated further in and the crankcase pressure pushed it out. Now, why do I have crankcase pressure? Especially that this happened at the lower RPM when I was letting it charge outside of Costco. And so if we look at the seal further, I don't know if you could see that or not, but the seal's actually crooked. It's poked out a little bit more on the bottom. And as I was talking to him on the phone, I was looking at this and I'm like, I don't see anything wrong. The seal looks in great condition. The spring is there. But then as I'm sitting here talking to him on the phone, look what I see. A kink in my breather tube. And I bent this up right before I left my garage. It was like this, something like that, but I didn't like how it looked because the tube was sort of sticking out into the compartment there. So I bent it up like this and that's what it was, the kink right there. I bet you that was it. Let me get all this put back together and see if this fixes the problem. Hit it. We're looking good, no more oil leak. Now I just have to pack everything back in the car and put everything back together. All the oil is clean. I hope it stays that way. Let's hit the road and finally head to Danny Duncan. It's about 5 p.m. so we got a couple hours of daylight driving and hopefully by the end of the night or early tomorrow morning we'll be in Florida. 9 hours and 13 minutes, 582 miles. So far so good, I don't want to jinx it. Our projected range is now almost 800 miles. And it's looking pretty good. Just as I thought everything was okay, 3 hours into the trip, disaster struck again. See that rip? That's it. I was on the freeway, some rocks were kicked up and hit my cooling coupling in between my 2 coolant pipes. Of all the places for a rock to hit, it hit right there. What We're done. We're back on the freeway. About an hour and 40 minutes to make that repair in the parking lot of O'Reilly. It's running full power. This is our last stop before hitting up Danny Duncan. We're 2 days behind, but on top of all those breakdowns, my throttle controller got full with oil from that rear main seal blowout, and now the engine is stuck at full throttle, but at least it's not stuck at idle. I got the Danny Duncan shirt. I'm just missing the wig. I forgot it at the studio, but we're gonna stop at Wig World. All right, so it looks like Wig World is now blessed out. So no wigs here. Let's move on. That's it for that stop. Now straight to Danny Duncan. This is him right here. He's got a bunch of junk out here. Sort of reminds me of that see-through Mercedes. Hey, do you know if that Danny guy lives here? Do you know if that Danny guy lives here?
I don't know. I think so.
Danny, I can't remember. I mean, we're here to get his autograph. My daughter wants his autograph. Does he live here or is it somewhere else?
I think it's somewhere else. Danny.
Oh, it looks like this house. It might be the next 2 houses over. Está jugando. This is where they posted that I seen it.
Maybe it's the wrong address.
Oh yeah, that's the wrong one. It's like, who's this guy? Oh man, Danny's got some loyal friends. I'm here at Danny's house. Let's see if my stuff has arrived. No, this one's for Danny. Oh, that one's for me.
What's up, man?
What's going on? All right, man. What's up, Q1?
What's up, man?
What's going on, man? How you doing?
Wait, are we doing the surprise right now or no?
No, I think in the daytime.
Dang it, dude. I'm gonna be waiting all night. I'm gonna be waiting all night, though.
I think in the daytime.
Should we just do it now? Just to,
No, tomorrow.
Come on, man. Christmas Eve. Come on, man. Give us a surprise right now.
No, tomorrow in the daytime, man. In the daytime.
What is it, December?
It's loaded.
What is it, December 24th? Give me the surprise, man. My mom
No,
let me
tomorrow,
say I get one present on Christmas Eve. Wing on this, could it fly?
Let's get it started, man. See what this thing sounds like.
What?
I'm excited to see your reaction.
I'm nervous.
We did a quick test run of the go-kart. Everything looks okay. Danny's a little bit nervous, but he's gonna take it for a test drive. Then I'm gonna leave the go-kart with him so he can finish his video, and I'm gonna move on with the road trip. If you want to see more of Danny in the go-kart, let me know. I have a lot of footage. But for now, we gotta go. Wonder what all this flour is about.
Oh, shit. It's on fire, bro.
This is the next day. We're now heading back to the Midwest. But as we were on our way to Mike's shop, Danny's friend, so he could weld my exhaust, this happened. Now we're in trouble. I hit a sewer and it ripped my whole coolant pipe out. This thing ripped my whole coolant pipe out. Ah, dude. This is bad news. Massey Automotive, that's where we're going. And give this guy a big shout out. This is Danny Duncan's friend, and I At this point, he's a savior because all I had to do was weld the exhaust. But now on the way here, we ripped out the coolant pipe, so I have even more work to do, and I'm so glad that he has tools. Somehow, some way, I'm gonna figure out how to get that up, get that other pipe in place, and see if we could get this thing back up and running. You won't even believe what happened, man. On my way here, I ripped my whole coolant pipe out, bro. All my coolant pipes from the bottom. There was a sewer in the parking lot sticking up. I drove over, I caught something and ripped the whole thing out, man. I got lucky because I have a hose there. I'm just gonna try to cut it here, cut the other one and just change it with an elbow just to get us back. Every single questionable decision I made on this design came back to me on this trip.
That's how it always goes, dude.
It's crazy, bro. This hose, that exhaust, this thing being unprotected, it was all questionable design decisions. There it is right there. So that looks pretty good. I got it lined up. The coupling lined up. I'm just gonna cut it here and cut it here. Put a clamp there and fill it up with coolant. Weld the exhaust. I don't care how it looks as long as it works. And get back on the road. All done. I think that looks pretty tucked away. I'm not gonna say anything else besides that because I am not jinxing any more of this trip than it already has been. Next, onto the exhaust, then hopefully we could get back home. Alright, so it's pretty much completely separated. Man, it just like fell apart as soon as I took the bolts out. That whole thing was like ripped apart inside. Look at that. Mike welded up the exhaust for me real nice, and I think this is gonna get us home.
Mike Massey 661.
Mike Massey 661, go show him some love because he's like an angel, man, because if it wasn't for him, we would be stuck here for at least another day. Thank you, Mike. Not bad, actually. We're finally on our way. We're leaving with 75% battery and we're now on the interstate. I'm gonna try to drive at least 5 or 6 hours because we have about 13 to 14 hours total. This is my first gas stop after leaving Danny Duncan, and I mean, looks like the exhaust is holding up. Okay, well, we're almost to our first hotel stop, and just like that, it's catching up pretty quick. But it was using about 135 to 140 watt hours per mile. We're at 98% battery. I'm gonna turn on the generator and then see how far we can get today. Our first stop is gonna be Topoko Tavern by the Tail of the Dragon. We made a quick pit stop, about 40 miles off course to go to a petting zoo. I'm glad I'm able to do that since there's no charging stations around here, like legitimately. That's crazy. So we just stopped at this place, this petting zoo, and apparently they make soap from the goat milk. I actually never knew you can do that. Bone Creek Farms. Wow, that's crazy. Just the random things you find in this country driving around.
Just the random things you find.
I know how to do a lot of things, but I wouldn't even know what the process would be to make soap from goat milk. What's that?
You said, oh, it's so legit.
It's tough when you're trying to make something natural.
It is.
And this is what we took. After this, back on the road. Next, Tail of the Dragon. Looks like I'm doing pretty decent though. I'm at about 1 watt hour per mile. To Atlanta. We made it to the ATL. And we have arrived with 2% battery remaining. And we're not very far from the beginning of the Tail of the Dragon. This is the next morning. We're leaving our hotel. This is the last day of our trip. You won't believe what happens. Blue Ridge, Georgia. That didn't sound good. Well, there was some weird noise and I don't know what happened, but there was a fire, which I didn't show on video because I was putting it out, but see what burned up. And literally every questionable design decision I made came back to bite me, all the way down to these connectors. Normally I solder these. That was scary. There was a whole fire in the back of the car. I put it out with a towel in my hand and sort of burned up right there a little bit. Here we go, the repair is all done. I'm gonna start it up now, make sure everything's good before I connect the wires reverse and blow everything up. The repair is done finally, my hand's burned up, but we're back on the road and on our way home. We're just gonna stop at one more petting zoo. I'm very nervous going up here since I had just ripped off those pipes.
Alarm and it ain't going off, Scout. And this is Pink, she's a Spithaven.
Grab something to eat. And then straight back to the Midwest. After all that, I finally made it back to my shop. It looks like the engine's still running, it's still charging, and it's still working. I'm not really sure what's going on now. It sounds kind of noisy and there's a lot of smoke, but it's still running after all that. For those of you curious about the numbers, I drove a total of 3,482 miles on this road trip. I burned 76.2 gallons of diesel. That brings us to about 45.69 miles per gallon. I know it's not the best, but it's much better than the previous episode, which I think was around 35 miles per gallon. And keep in mind, this Tesla is all-wheel drive, around 1,000 horsepower. Considering that, I don't think those numbers are too bad, but every revision I build, I aim for more. A lot of people have been asking me for longer videos and more details with these road trips. So in this video, I gave you pretty much everything. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video.